Hello, Internet. Welcome to a brand new gamerish podcast. This podcast is the Nick, who is Eric Paulette, and the Hick, who is myself. So, in this podcast, what we're going to be doing is basically whatever the fuck we want because it's our podcast. We're going to be talking about movies, reviewing movies, rating movies. We're going to be talking about games, reviewing games, rating games, and anything else that we want because this is our podcast. So thank you for tuning in to the very first ever episode 1 of season 1 of the Nick and the Hick. All right, Eric.
Hey, what's
You're
up?
the Nick. Why are
I
you
am
the
the Nick.
Nick?
Because I'm from New York, and we have a terrible basketball team called the Knicks.
Yeah. And I am the Hick. You can probably tell just from my accent. I am from the Midwest and from Indiana, and there is more than corn here, honestly. So today, I think how we're going to start this off is some Quentin Tarantino, right?
Yep.
So what we're going to be doing, guys, in the next few weeks, we might pause. We might go into games here and there. We might go into comics here and there. We might go into books. We might do whatever the fuck we want because this is our podcast. But for today, we're going to be talking about Quentin Tarantino movies. And we're going to be starting right from the beginning. So today is Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction. So, Eric, tell us about Reservoir Dogs.
All right. So Reservoir Dogs came out in 1982. It was Quentin Tarantino's first movie that he wrote and directed. It stars Harvey Keitel, Tim Roth, Steve Buscemi, a lot of people Michael Madsen, who would end up showing up in other Tarantino movies.
Yeah, we're going to see them.
Yeah, definitely. This is, as I like to call it, the bank heist. Well, it's the bank heist movie that you don't see the bank heist, or a heist movie you don't see the heist.
So for a long time, people would be like, well, yeah, that movie made so much money because they spent so much money to make. And like Avengers Endgame made so buku money because they put such buku money in it. And in this business, you have to spend money to make money. With the exceptions of this movie and like Clerks, shit like that. Because he didn't spend that much money on this movie at all. The gross far preceded the fucking what he spent to make it.
Yeah. Yeah, he spent about like 1.2 to 1.5 million.
Yeah. And obviously grossed well more than that.
Way more.
And it's like what, like in a warehouse and in a parking lot and a diner, a strip club, a diner. I mean, there's not very many scenes as far as like locations.
No. So like I said, this is a heist movie, and we see a bunch of criminals, and we don't know most of their names. We don't know most of their names, and I guess we get some of their first names, maybe. But I think that one of the most infamous parts about this movie is they're all given the code names.
Yeah.
Of the colors, different colors.
Yeah, hit us with that. Who's the colors?
So you got Mr. Brown.
Yeah.
Who is
shit.
Yeah, which is Quentin himself. Let's see, you have Mr. White, Harvey Keitel, Mr. Orange, Tim Roth, Mr. Blonde, was Michael Madsen, which I always wondered why blonde if you're doing actual colors.
I think because
yellow.
I honestly, I thought about that too. I think because he's so offset from every other character in the movie. And he really is. He has so much like just the song and just that scene. Like he is different from all the other characters. Like they go way more into fucking Madsen than anyone else in this movie.
You have Mr. Pink with Steve Buscemi, Mr. Blue, which is probably only one who's not like a recognizable face or name.
Yeah.
But Edward Bunker, who played Mr. Blue, had a very unique history because he was a hardened criminal, and then he became a novelist, and he kind of became a screenwriter also because he wrote a bunch of screenplays. And then Quentin Tarantino, I think, just put him in the movie because he was a big fan of his work.
So he's like the old guy, right?
Yeah, and because he's the only one in the cast who was a real criminal who did these things. So I wonder if he also brought him in as kind of like an advisor. His story is very similar to Danny Trejo, which I think they were friends, so that's kind of funny at the same time. But then we round out the cast with Lawrence Tierney. He's the old guy who brings all the colors together, if you will, and his son Chris Penn, played by Nice Guy Eddie. There used to be a bar.
Yeah.
There used to be a bar in the city called Nice Guy Eddie's. It was pretty funny because obviously that's where it's from.
Hey, so Mr. Blue, I made a weird connection, and from a comedy, Vince Vaughn, Will Ferrell, they did Old School.
Yeah.
And the old guy in that was Mr. Blue. Do you think there's like a weird connection with that? Like when
there might be, yeah.
Yeah.
When you get an old guy, they're just always called as Blue.
Like when I watched it yesterday, and I'm like, is that fucking You're My Boy Blue? I was like, is that happening?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's an indication of their other balls. Their balls become blue when they get old. I don't know. Maybe that's
all right, so keep hitting us with that plot.
Yeah, I mean that's they come together to. I think it's a diamond.
Yeah, it's a diamond heist.
Diamond heist. And you don't see any of the heists, and you pretty much just see them setting it up, talking about it, and then the fallout of the heist. And because you don't see the heist, you have to kind of piece together what they talk about, what happens during the heist. Like Mr. Blue, once you see him after they talk about the heist, he's gone because he's dead. They don't even show his death scene. Yeah. They do show Quentin Tarantino, though. I think he gets shot up.
This, in my opinion, is his like weakest acting role in all of his movies.
What do you think of his other acting roles? You think this is the weakest?
We're going to go on Pulp Fiction when he's talking about, do I have a sign with the N-word? Fucking, that was hilarious. He was hilarious in fucking Pulp Fiction.
Yeah. But you think this is his weakest? Well,
yeah. So he's just talking about dicks and fucking Madonna and Like a Virgin and fucking big dicks in the first scene. And that was really his only like talking role.
Well, his whole thing about not being, he doesn't want to be called Mr. Brown because it's too close to Mr.
Shit. Then he's like, I'm fine. Like at least I'm not pink.
Yeah, right. But then you mentioned the warehouse, so there's they all head to the warehouse because that's the meeting point. And then it's just what's his name? Tim Roth, Mr. Orange, is shot in the stomach. So they're dealing with that. And they're just dealing with the fact that this is a big fallout. And I don't even think, did they even get the diamonds that they were supposed to get?
Yeah, Mr. Pink had the diamonds.
Okay, so Pink has the diamonds. So.
Yeah, Mr. Pink had the diamonds. And that's when Harvey Keitel, Penn, and Mr. Pink left. They left to go get the diamonds, and they left Mr.
because he had
alone.
Right.
And that's when we get the best scene of the fucking movie.
Of course. Oh, that's right, because Pink had it in a hiding spot that we never see. Well, what's interesting about the things we don't see is because that's not what's important. But you did mention the scene where he kidnaps the cop, Mr. Blonde, and
like the best music score ever.
It's been parodied.
Whenever I fucking hear "Stuck in the Middle with You,"
of course,
I
the first thing you think of
that.
Definitely. That's what made Michael Madsen, and he had said later on that like he was so tired of being compared to Mr. Blonde because that's all anyone ever remembers of his career is that one scene. What else?
So what's cool in the movie is that they took Quentin Tarantino took each character, and except for Mr. Brown and Mr. Blue, like those are our two just throwaway characters, but everyone else he gave a backstory for within the movie.
Yeah.
So like Orange was a police officer, and he had to remember this stupid fucking joke or the antidote of selling weed and carrying weed in front of a bunch of cops in a bathroom. And what was really cool when he fucking left the house to go that day to go for the heist, that was cool. So he turns around, he looks in the mirror, and he's like, "Hey, you're fucking Beretta. You're cool. Nobody knows shit about you. You're cool." And they did that for each character. Except for, like I said, Brown and Blue. So they did. Michael Madsen's was really cool too. And might as well start talking about the Vegas, because here's the thing about Tarantino movies: it's a universe.
Yeah, it's a universe. Red Apple cigarettes. That's always like the big. That's like in every movie, pretty much. Red Apple cigarettes.
You got Vic Vega. That's who
Vic Vega.
Mr. Blonde is.
Yeah. Would you have liked to have seen a movie with the Vega
two of
brothers?
Them? I tried looking it up and Googling it, and I don't know who's the older brother or the younger brother. I don't even fucking think that information's out there.
Was ever I don't know if it was ever mentioned.
But supposedly what it reads is that they were brought up in like this fucking upper class family, giving everything that they wanted in their lives, and competed like for their parents' attention, and that's fucking was their like dialogue of becoming these crazy characters.
That seems weird.
Yeah. But I couldn't. I was like, who's older? That's all I cared about. Like, who's the older brother? Who's the younger brother? And you can't. I looked. There's no telling.
Hey, it would be interesting if they were twins.
Yeah, they might. They might be. So Vic Vega did some time, right, in this movie. 4 years? I think he did 4 years. And that was a big point from Penn, is that when Orange shot the cop, or shot Vic, and everybody came back from getting the diamonds, Penn was like, "Are you trying to tell me that the person that went to jail for my father for 4 years and didn't fucking tell anybody ever and came back to us for this job turned on us to steal from us?" And it was like, no, that's a dumb story. Like, you're going to die. You're going to die. And they did that for, so the scenes where they did the backstories, they did a backstory for Blonde. They did a backstory for Orange. They did a backstory
for Pink, though.
For White. Not for Pink, Blue, or...
Not for Pink, no.
They did one for Orange. They did one for White. And they did one for Blonde. I think that was it.
Yeah, I think that was it. What do you think about that whole, the thing about Orange trying to learn that story? Because, I mean, it's basically saying that you have to know every detail. You have to know what the bathroom smells.
You have to make your detail. You have to make it your truth. You have to make this your truth.
That was cool. An interesting thing
that was cool.
He was saying. Yeah.
That was cool. That was like Tarantino's take on like what an insider would be, I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
And he did, and it did progress, and it showed him progressing to make that story better.
It's almost like he's saying that's how to lie. That's how you lie.
Yeah.
Orange was believe the lie.
Orange was a very interesting character in the movie.
He was.
Honestly.
Yeah, he was. And then at the end, we get a Mexican standoff, which Tarantino loved putting
Here's my problem. I watched the movie. So Orange is down. Yeah. He's not holding a gun. He actually spent all of his rounds on Blonde. We saw that.
Right.
Okay.
Shoots him a lot, yeah.
So Joe is aiming his gun at the cop.
Yeah.
White is aiming his gun at Joe. Chris Penn is aiming his gun at White.
Yes.
All four of them die. Who shot Penn?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Who shot Penn?
I don't know.
They all four. There are all three of them drop. Who fucking shot Penn? Nobody had a gun on him. I watched the movie and I was like, well, who the fuck shot him?
Yeah, Because you're saying Orange doesn't have any bullets left, so it couldn't
And
have been
Pink is
him.
hiding under the ramp because he comes out of the ramp afterwards and fucking runs out.
Right.
Who shot Penn?
That's a good question. I don't know. Oh, you know what? Doesn't White shoot them both?
I don't
Doesn't
know.
he shoot Joe and then he shoots
White has
Eddie?
his gun definitely on Joe.
Right.
Joe has his gun on Orange.
Right.
Penn has his gun on White.
Yes. So Joe
One shot
shoots,
happens for all of them and they drop. Who shot Penn?
I thought it was Joe shoots Orange, White shoots Joe, and then Eddie shoots White, but then White then shoots Eddie after he gets shot. So you know what I mean? So he shoots Joe, and then he gets shot.
I didn't see the turn. I didn't see the turn in the second shot.
Well, I don't know if he had.
There was just one pop.
There
was just one pop, honest to God, and they all just drop.
All right. What the hell is this movie called again? Oh, Reservoir, right. So what do you think of, speaking of Pink, and then coming out of the ramp and then running out, what do you think of that end? Because that end is very ambiguous. Did he escape or did he get killed by the
No, he got
cops?
killed. He got killed. The cops were waiting. That was a setup. The cops were there. They were around the corner just waiting for Joe to show up. Joe showed up, and then the cops came in.
But how do you know that, though?
Because Orange told Marvin that when Joe gets here, that's when my cops around the corner are going to fucking be here.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, no, he leaves the door, and you hear a big shootout.
Yeah, you do hear a shootout, but people have claimed that maybe that was just him taking out the cops. But I think I agree with you. I definitely think he was killed by cops. But there are some people who think that he escaped.
Yeah, he didn't make it.
Do you think it was important for Tarantino to get you to think that maybe he did escape?
I think it is important for that because Tarantino, like I said, this is a universe. And in the very next movie, Buscemi is back as a fucking server.
Buscemi is back as a server? Oh, what?
He's Buddy Holly.
Yeah, right. Oh, you said server.
Yeah, he's a server.
I'm sorry.
I'm the hick, guys.
I thought you said surfer. I was like, wait a minute. That's Brad Pitt in True Romance.
No.
I just watched it. He does shoot them both.
Okay. Harvey gets 2 off.
Yeah, he gets them 2. So I wonder how long it took them to shoot this because it seems like you have to do he would have had to have done both in one shot.
Why wouldn't Tarantino put Pink in that and Pink was aiming at fucking Eddie and nobody was aiming at Pink and Pink could just leave?
Because the whole point of Pink's character is
just
he
doesn't
give a shit. Yeah, he doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, it's the job. It's the job.
Yeah, he's there for he gets so pissed off about everything going to shit and all he cares about is the money and getting out. That's all he cares about.
So this movie's like what you said. It's a heist that we never see the
heist.
The heist. But really it's really more of like a whodunit, like Clue. Yes. You know what I mean? Like the movie Clue. But if you were to watch this for the first time, you would be like, "Who's the rat?" That would be your focus.
But the problem is we know who the rat is.
Yeah, I knew immediately.
Through.
But if you haven't watched it, you're like, "Who's the rat?" And from my perspective, you know the whole time that Pink is not the rat.
Yeah. Yeah, his attitude. It's because of his attitude. I mean, he's the one that doesn't want to tip.
Yeah, we should talk about that. That was fucking crazy, wasn't it?
Yeah. I don't know. You saw it recently. So what was his what was his stance on not tipping?
That they work and that this is their job. And that they get paid. And everybody's like, dude, don't you understand that a single mother in America is 90% they're in the fucking food business and this is how they support their family? He's like, if you go to McDonald's or you go to a fast food fucking place, do you tip them for getting food? No, you don't. We tip here because we're supposed to do it. And I'm not about to do some shit that I'm supposed to do. That was his whole thing. I'm not going to do something because I'm supposed to do it. He said, I'll tip if they do a good job. but I've had 3 coffees. He said, all I've ordered is fucking coffee. I've had 3 of them. Now, my system of tipping is for 6 coffees, and if she came around and filled this 6 times, I would tip her. But she didn't. She fucking did it 3.
Okay, so wasn't it Penn who said that bit about the single mother?
Yeah.
Was it? All right. So don't you find it ironic that like cold-blooded murderers and thieves are talking about single moms who can't support their children, and like it's almost like that was like a bleeding heart point of the conversation, of the argument. Meanwhile, like, you're a fucking piece of shit murderer.
The funniest
I
part
think that's pretty funny.
is when Joe comes back to the table and he's like, hey, somebody didn't put in. And they're like, it's fucking Pink. He doesn't tip. He said, what do you mean you don't tip? I don't tip. He said, I paid for your fucking food. Tip. And he was like, all right, I'll tip for that.
So this is I think because it's one of his first movies. It's the first time we get to hear those conversations. It's just like normal conversations. What do you think? I mean, obviously, do you think it fit in this movie, in that scene?
Yeah, you had to have an oddball, you know what I mean? In that, because how many scenes are there? You got the diner, you've got the warehouse, and you've got like the parking lot, and that's really it, right? I mean,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Isn't that
but the
it?
warehouse is used a few times, but yeah.
There's a couple rooms, you know what I mean, in the warehouse. They're in that weird, they're not the bathroom. He says go use the bathroom somewhere else. Like, we didn't actually even see the bathroom.
Right.
It was just some weird fucking room. Okay, this was also weird too. When they're smoking cigarettes, Harvey Keitel never smokes. He never smokes. He fucking does the weird fucking snap thing on the lighter. And he lights Steve Buscemi's fucking cigarette. Steve Buscemi smokes, and you can see the smoke coming out of his mouth. And Harvey Keitel just has a fucking unlit cigarette in his mouth like the whole time.
That's so weird. Yeah, that's weird. You think they would have done something with that?
So yeah, that's it. That's it for the scenes. You've got the diner, you've got the parking lot of the warehouse, and then you have the warehouse with 2 rooms. But that's it for location.
That's pretty much it. Yeah.
There's nothing else. So yeah, at that diner, besides Tarantino's weird ass fucking speech about dicks and like a virgin, the only thing that was compelling was Buscemi talking about how he doesn't tip.
And I think, again, it's supposed to humanize these characters.
Yeah.
Even though we're about to watch like a lot of, somewhat violence and aggression, but then they're like, defending, working class people. I think that's pretty funny.
Animal Crossing came up a little bit. So like that 70s radio channel was K something 70s sounds. I forget the name of it.
Yeah.
But like immediately I was like, KK? Like, is that fucking KK Slider? Fucking Animal Crossing? Did they fucking take from Tarantino for that? Like, that would be badass.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, but all in all, like, pretty good for a first time movie.
Yeah.
I'm sure you would agree.
So guys, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be ranking Tarantino movies. And I thought immediately, no matter what, Pulp Fiction was going to be number 1. Just no questions, no answers. Just Pulp Fiction's number 1.
Well, we're gonna give both.
And this movie's really fucking good. It's a really fucking good movie.
But we're gonna give both our rankings. So like, you give yours.
But this movie's fucking good, man. It's good.
It's good. No,
it starts Tarantino. Like, it really does. It starts Tarantino. This is Tarantino.
And I think it definitely shows you right off the bat what you're in for.
Like,
when it comes to a Tarantino movie. That
50s cool cat, swooner.
Yeah.
That's all in this movie. It's 100% this movie.
Yeah. I mean, what do you anything else? Any last words about Reservoir Dogs?
I don't think so. It's a crazy, if you're watching this for the first time, it's a crazy fucking movie.
Yeah.
It is. Like, it was hard. It wasn't hard to watch, of course, for the second time or for the third time or the fourth time or the fifth time, however many times I've watched it. It wasn't hard to watch, but it was hard to watch it and then like critique it.
Yeah. What do you, again, like I said, like watching this, especially for the first time, this is the building blocks of what a Tarantino movie is like. So with that said, the time frame, the way that the time is all fractured and in out of order, I guess. What do you think of that?
I think if I was to think about it, this movie would be right before Pulp Fiction, like as far as the timeline. When Joe and Eddie and Vic, when they're doing Vic's backstory in the office, and fucking Eddie and Vic wrestle and fucking patter ass, they talk about Marsalis, Marsal.
Oh, they do.
That's who they're going to get the diamonds off to.
Interesting. Very interesting.
But they're like, Vic's like, do you have somebody for diamonds? Yeah, Marsalis, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, shit. Like, this is a fucking universe.
Again, he, like I said, he was already, like, this is what you're going to get. You're going to get the universe. He was already had that in mind. But what I meant was the structure of the plot. So, like you said, like, we start off with the diner, and then we go back in time and start to build more on those characters.
Yeah,
like, we don't even...
That becomes what we learn about Tarantino. I've seen, I forget what it was, but I watched like a cartoon. It was hilarious. They talk about how, well, I'm going to start the story from the end and then come back. No, it was fucking The Other Guys. The Other Guys movie with Marky Mark and Will Ferrell.
Oh, okay.
So the British guy was like, well, the best way to start a story is to start it from the ending and then go to the beginning and go here and back in between and blah, blah, blah. So that's fucking Tarantino.
Yeah, that's Tarantino, yeah.
That's exactly what he does. And he does it in damn near every movie. Like, you get flashbacks crazy. And he builds plots. He gives you character backgrounds, who those characters are, why they're in this, what they're doing. Like, and this movie is fucking to the T for that. Honest to God. So it starts with the diner. Then they go to White, and then White, they go into his backstory, and then they fuck around with either Vic or Orange, and they go into his backstory. And Tarantino does that. He doesn't tell a straight story. He gives you pieces throughout the story for you to put it all together.
He doesn't do it in every movie, but that does become his signature, I guess you could say.
It's like, what is that shit called?
I don't know. I was gonna look it up.
It's like an ironic. It's like a cinematic ironic or something like that. It's a theater ironic or something, to where the viewer knows what the characters don't know. It's a weird type of irony that you do with film, or in theater, like whatever stage presence or whatever. Like, it's an irony, and he fucking implements that left and right in this movie.
Oh yeah, definitely. All right, so I think we're pretty good with Reservoir Dogs. Before we go into the next one, I just wanted to give a little honorary mention to some of the movies that he wrote, but did not direct. So the first movie is True Romance. So what do you think of what do you like? Quick takes on True Romance?
Gary Oldman.
Yeah.
Gary Oldman.
White Boy Day.
So you get Gary Oldman. He did Sid and Nancy. And then we get him later on with fucking Han Solo in the Air Force One movie. As a bad, This is how we're going to talk, people. This is how we're going to talk. Fucking
get off my plane.
Stay on board, okay?
Yeah. If you don't get it, get off my plane.
So, and then he's, Commissioner Gordon. He's just Gary Oldman, man. Roles. But in that role, it's like, you don't even fucking know that that's Gary Oldman.
You don't even know. True story. For a long time, I didn't even know Gary Oldman was British, because he always had a different accent in every movie. And
Yeah,
almost
that's just his
never
acting.
used
That's his
his.
acting style. He
He
fucking
almost
gets.
never used his. Even in
See-
Sid and Nancy, I don't think that's his accent.
See, we have to get into actually using the right terminology. I forget what type of actor that is, but he gets into the
Method,
fucking.
you mean?
Yeah, he's method. He fucking gets into
Yeah.
the role.
Yeah. Sometimes those guys, they lose their true accent.
So, guys, if you haven't seen True Romance, Gary Oldman is a dreadlocked white wannabe gangster thug who you would never imagine Gary Oldman fucking being.
He's got scars on his face.
And he just acts his ass off that entire movie.
Yeah,
I like it. I like it. Fucking
yeah.
They probably could have got a better role for Christian Slater. I mean, he was like the flavor of the month. And what's weird about Christian Slater is that Tarantino, I know this isn't a directed by Tarantino movie, but you still have other people in that movie that Tarantino has used later on in other movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
But not Christian Slater.
True. Also, because this movie is
like Rosanna Arquette, you get Rosanna Arquette in other movies.
Yeah. This movie, like Christian Slater's character is so similar to Quentin Tarantino. This is almost like Quentin Tarantino's wet dream. You know, he like falls in love with a woman who loves everything that he loves.
And it's fucking LA, you know?
Yeah.
Or no, it's not. Actually, wasn't it East Coast?
No, it's like
Is it LA?
No, it's not LA. It's like not Detroit, but it's probably something close to Detroit.
Midwest or some shit like that. But it just has an LA fucking feel to it because you got Brad Pitt.
He goes to LA. He goes to LA.
Yeah.
Because his friend is Micheal, what's his name? Lives in LA with Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you with the Gary Oldman, but I think the most famous scene in the movie is between Christopher Walken and Dennis Hopper.
Okay.
No, you don't agree?
I love Dennis Hopper in the movie. Dennis Hopper was like, "That's my son. Don't fuck with my son."
That scene between when Dennis Hopper tells him the true nature of Sicilians.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
Yeah,
that was cool.
That's like a scene that, like, even before he started directing Tarantino, even when he was directing Tarantino, that was that scene he became infamous for.
Was Scagnetti in that one?
Yeah, I think he. What, the character or
the actor? The actor.
Yeah. Mm-hmm, yeah.
So guys, like I said, it's a universe, and Scagnetti is Vic's parole officer in Reservoir Dogs.
Oh, that's right. But Scagnetti is in Natural Born Killers.
Yes.
But
he's a cop. He's a cop in True Romance, though, too, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Yeah. He is.
So all this shit, guys, it keeps fucking snowballing. It keeps
it does.
fucking going.
All right, so yeah, I really enjoy that movie. I really do enjoy that movie.
Yeah, I like True Romance.
The other movie that I was thinking of that he wrote, sort of, was, again, Natural Born Killers, because he wrote this screenplay, and he's credited for writing the story. But what's his name? Holy shit. The director took the script and just made it more of his own.
Yeah.
And Tarantino, I think, has said in
was it Tony something or
no? Oliver Stone.
Okay, Oliver Stone.
And and Tarantino was not happy with the way that he changed the script. So basically, the idea of Mickey and Mallory, being serial killers and also becoming celebrities, that's pretty much the only thing that's left in the script. And everything else has changed. Well, obviously, Scagnetti was in there because he's mentioned in Reservoir Dogs. But what do you think of Natural Born Killers?
Are we just going to say that is the birth of Woody Harrelson? Into a movie actor? Yeah, as a movie actor. Is that his introduction?
Yeah, I think you might be right. I'm trying to think of White Man Can't Jump was before or after that.
Right around the same time.
Yeah, it was around the same time. But I would say that's definitely the birth of him being a serious actor. Or
Natural Born Killers, it's a crazy ass movie.
Yeah, it's a crazy ass movie. I think though that movie, White Man Can't Jump is before. Okay. But definitely Natural Born Killers is probably his best role.
And you got the chick that was in every movie in the 90s.
Well, Julia Lewis.
Yeah, she's in every movie.
But I really like that movie. But I think that it's a not everyone's going to love it. You know.
Well, that it was like that weird where it goes off the rails is when they start doing like the peyote or whatever it was.
Yeah.
The drugs, and that's when it just went off.
It's funny you should say that because that's supposed to be the moment where they decide they're not going to randomly murder people anymore.
Yeah.
Because of that. But still, I do enjoy the movie and a good soundtrack too at the same time.
Yeah, defining movie definitely of the 90s for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, he also wrote, he co-wrote. What's it called?
Was that one of Brad Pitt's first?
True Romance?
Yeah.
I think it might have been. Yeah. Well, he was in
California.
Thelma
and Louise.
Thelma and Louise was around
late
the
80s.
same time as True Romance.
Yeah.
No, it was the same time as True Romance. So the only other movie that he kind of co-wrote was From Dusk to Dawn.
Okay.
What do you think of that movie?
Dusk to Dawn? We're going to do that, right? I mean, that's a Tarantino movie.
Well, he didn't direct it.
No? He acted in it, for sure.
Yeah, but you want to do every movie he acted in?
So Dusk Till Dawn is a cool... Well, Salma Hayek's awesome in it.
Yeah. Well, if you remember, the first part of the movie is more like a Tarantino crime.
Yeah.
And then it changes into the
supernatural vampire movie.
Yeah. So I think there might have been rumors that he might have directed some of the first part. But Robert Rodriguez directed.
So with Dusk Till Dawn, you and I would talk about visual effects and CGI and stuff like that. And if you go back and watch From Dusk Till Dawn, does not age well.
No,
does not age well at all.
The morphing, like when she morphs into a vampire, it doesn't work now.
Yeah.
Him turning into a vampire, Tarantino turning into a vampire, which just looks like a jacked up version of Tarantino.
But it's weird because you still with Dusk Till Dawn, you get like the Tarantino actors, right? You get Harvey Keitel, you get Tarantino, you get Machete. Machete's in there.
Well, Trejo started off as he didn't start off, but he became a Robert Rodriguez because he was in Desperado. I think this was before Desperado. But also Cheech Marin's in it, and he's a Robert Rodriguez.
Juliette Lewis.
Oh yeah, you're right.
She's right back.
Who was also in? You also mentioned California. She was also in California.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you guys, it's a weird universe. Like you see all of these people in reoccurring roles and everything that this man has touched.
Yeah, definitely. I liked it. I got to be honest. I liked this movie when I first saw it. When I was I
loved it.
Teenager, but. I don't know if it's really aged well. Oh, speaking of which, you just said everything connects, right? From Dusk Till Dawn, the Gecko brothers are supposedly the cousins of the Vega brothers.
Oh, really? I didn't even know that. That's crazy.
Yeah. So Tarantino and George Clooney play the Gecko brothers, and they're supposed to be related to the Vegas.
Oh,
like cousins.
I never caught that in the movies.
Yeah. It's one of those things that's mentioned, like he would say it in an interview or something. Oh, what's that shit he said? Do you remember that thing he said that, so all the movies are connected. All of his movies in the universe are connected, but they're connected in two ways. Either the movies share a universe or the other movies would be movies those characters would go watch. Did you ever hear that?
No, I didn't. But they're always watching TV though, and they're always watching the fucking news.
So, for instance, like Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction are connected, like you said. So, Kill Bill would be the movie that the characters from Pulp Fiction would go see.
Okay.
So that's how he said all those movies connect. So either they're actually connected or it's just movies they would go see in the theater.
Or it's like this third entity that is still connected because it's within that movie's universe.
Right. All right, so I'm going to do an awesome segue. You ready? So True Romance was directed by Tony Scott,
I said Tony. You.
Yeah. No, you said Natural Born Killers.
Oh, okay.
So he had before he made True Romance. So Quentin already made Reservoir Dogs, and he meets Tony Scott, and he says to Tony Scott that he's working on these two scripts. And Tony Scott was a fan of Reservoir Dogs, and Tony Scott said to him, "I'll make both." And so Quentin said, "You can make True Romance, but the second script I want to make myself." And that movie was Pulp Fiction.
Okay.
So Pulp Fiction, 1994. What?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's
94.
Do it.
This is probably considered his. What did you say before? Mona Lisa.
This is his Mona Lisa. This is
opus.
His. Yeah, that's it.
So
it's it.
You
want me to do plot? Are you gonna do plot?
Yeah, you can do plot. Go.
All right. So we start off in a diner. Right. We got Mr. Orange back. We got Mrs. Orange, or Miss Tangerine, or whoever the fuck she is, but she's Mr. Orange's chick, and they go in this. He goes in this weird talk about how banks are stupid to rob because cops are going to be waiting, and what they should do is rob a restaurant.
Yep.
And he talked about the last time they robbed some other store, whatever. Like, he's like, remember when you went and got everybody's wallets? That fucking really paid off. We could do that here. There's tons of people that come to restaurants. Let's get their wallets and let's rob this place. And then he stands up and says, "Hey, this is a robbery, everybody." Scene over. Now we cut to Vega and Jules. All right, the two craziest killers you've ever seen in a fucking movie. Now these guys are rolling through, and Vincent Vega's talking about. And let's just go ahead with it. Had he even done anything since the fucking 70s at that point?
Yeah,
Travolta.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Travolta did movies in the 80s.
But this was his big resurgence, though, right?
Yes,
I mean, this
was his first comeback, because I think he had like two or three comebacks. But yeah, this was his first comeback. He had done movies in the 80s. He did this really awful movie in the 90s where he met his wife, Kelly Preston. But then he was kind of, silent for a while because he made a lot of shit.
All right, so Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson are rolling through the fucking hood in a car. And Travolta's been Vincent Vega has been in Amsterdam for a few years. Mm-hmm. And they go on and on about the fucking metric system and fucking hamburgers and what they're called and how open the laws are in Amsterdam. And what's funny is this shit comes back periodically through the movie. Like this one piece of dialogue keeps fucking popping up throughout the movie. Right. And they're just driving. So then what? They go to the new Marvin, not Marvin Cop from last movie, but this is White Marvin. They go to White Marvin's house, get some weird briefcase, right? Says, "I want to taste your fucking tasty hamburger." He really like demoralizes this man in his fucking living room. He's like, "I'm gonna eat your hamburger. I'm gonna drink your fucking drink."
Yeah.
And it's that whole this is Samuel L. Jackson like at his finest. It's super iconic. It's "Say what again, motherfucker." It's fucking him going through the scriptures of the Bible. I'm blah blah blah, the vengeance of God, and fucking you will blah blah blah, my rapture, and this and that, and fucking I will come down upon thee with great vengeance from the Lord, some bullshit like that, fucking. And truly iconic. So then what did they do? What did they do after they're at the apartment?
All right, so they kill.
They talk about his date on the drive too. There, by the way, he's got a big date.
He's supposed to go out with Marcella's his wife. Right?
Yep. Okay, so I left that out. That's a really big part that I left out. So apparently, this black Samoan was rubbing on Mia's feet, giving her a foot massage, and Marcellus had some henchmen drop him through like 4 stories into a fucking greenhouse.
Yeah.
And then they have this big back and forth about rubbing on feet, if it's sensual or if it's fucking just rubbing feet. And the big the big punchline at the end of it, John Travolta asks Samuel L. Jackson, like, would you do this with feet? Would you do that with feet? And Samuel L. Jackson's like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. I rub tons of feet. He said, would you rub a guy's feet? Or would you rub a dude's feet? Or rub a dude's foot? Like, would you do that? And he's like, whatever, motherfucker. So yeah, and then they go to the apartment. They get the briefcase. They fucking scream at dude. Shoot dude in the fucking couch.
And then
we got another cutscene. They fucking cut.
Well,
no, that's at the end of the movie. End of the movie. End of the movie.
Oh, see? Okay. What was I going to say? Oh, Big Kahuna Burger.
Big Kahuna Burger, and it's a tasty burger.
He uses that a lot in his movies.
So what's the scene that they leave that apartment? Does it just go straight into... No, I think he goes to buy the drugs. I think Vincent goes and buys the drugs.
Yeah. He goes
from Eric Stoltz.
Yeah, and Rosanna Arquette.
Yep.
Whose sister was in True Romance, and her brother is the one who shoots at them. That happens later on in the movie. So yeah, then he buys the heroin. Because then
he's got like 3 different kinds. He's like, this kind's 300 a gram. This kind's 300 a gram. This kind's 500 a gram. And you ask me why it's 500 a gram? Well, you'll fucking find out. Like, it's definitely worth that extra money because you can't get this anywhere. And he's like, it's better than anything you get in Amsterdam. And fucking Vincent Vega's like, that's a bold statement. He's like, I swear by my product. You're at my house. You came here for these drugs. Obviously, you trust me. And he goes, I'll go with the 500. Can I shoot up here? Shoots up there and then goes and sees
Mia.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great about
his
movies. The Bride is he. A lot of his movies have great supporting characters, and Eric Stoltz is one of those great supporting characters.
Do you remember there was a moment where Eric Stoltz was like a darling child, and then fucking he was just wiped from everything? I think that was that whole like. Wasn't he in CSI or some shit like that for like one season, or was that a different redheaded Eric?
I don't know if there was someone else. What do you mean? Like he was like a star, and then
he was. He was fucking a lot of shit, and then nothing.
He was big in the 80s. Yeah, he was big in the 80s. He did a few things, but like he really became. You know, it's funny because I think he was in. Wasn't he in 2 Days in the Valley, which is a Quentin Tarantino ripoff movie, which is kind of ironic. And then he was also in Back to the Future for 2 weeks until he was fired. But yeah, you're right. He's another one that just disappeared.
So like probably like a I don't know how to say, like a surplus character. Like he's big but cheap. Like
it's almost like Tarantino likes picking up broken toys and trying to fix them
because they're cheap and they can act
in his own way. Yeah,
people know him.
Yeah.
So he buys this heroin, and then he goes to his date with Marcellus' wife, the big bad gangster, and he takes her on a date. It's not a date. It's not a fucking date.
No.
That's
while
what Vegas
Marcellus
says.
Is out of town. Yeah, while he's out of town.
He said, show my wife a good time. And Vincent talking to Samuel L. Jackson is like, it's not a date.
Right.
So they go to this 50s diner.
Yep.
At the 50s diner, you get a lot of interaction between Uma Thurman and
Travolta.
Yeah, and Travolta and Vincent Vega.
Yeah.
A lot of interaction. Yeah. Like there is definitely a connection. And then you see Steve Buscemi. Steve Buscemi comes as fucking Buddy Holly. He's their he's their server. They do the iconic dance. Well, he talks about the fucking milkshake, fucking $5 fucking milkshake. Are you shitting me?
Which I have to interject and say that at least here, I think in certain parts of the country, especially here in New York City, a $5 shake is not uncommon. But that, I'm talking 2020. In 1994, probably not. Yeah. But I just think it's really funny that scene in particular where he just goes off about a $5. That better be the best fucking milkshake.
No, he's like, is there fucking hamburgers in it?
Yeah.
Like,
because here you can easily find a $5 from any shitty place. Like, it's not even like a upscale milkshake place, if that even exists. But I just think it's very funny and kind of telling of the time period when that was written, you know? So anyway, go on, sorry.
All right, so they're talking it up at the diner. She has to go powder her nose, and she says, when I come back, come up with some interesting conversation.
Yeah.
And she goes and she literally powders her nose with powder. Like,
Yeah.
with the white, with the snow,
Yeah, with the snow.
With with the Coke. She goes to the bathroom and does some Coke. She comes back and said, you got something to talk about? And that's when he fucking brings up the whole foot conversation. Like, I heard that this black Samoan rubbed your fucking feet and he got dropped through 4 stories. And she's like, do you really think my husband would fucking drop somebody through 4 stories for rubbing my feet? And he's like, that's the word on the street. But she like tells him, like, that's dumb. Like, you guys are dumb. You guys all talk stupid shit, and we're above you. So you get that already. You get that feeling that she is not with Vincent Vega. She is a step here, and he is here.
Right.
And then fucking the American Bandstand shit happened. Who was the host of American Bandstand?
Well, it's supposed to be Ed Sullivan.
Yeah, so the Ed Sullivan wannabe gets up there, and he's like, we're doing a dance-off for this trophy. And she's like, I want to fucking dance. I want to win that goddamn trophy. Let's go up and dance. So here we go. We've got John Travolta, exactly what all of your moms wanted to see. John Travolta fucking doing.
He even does the Batusi. He does a Batusi at one point.
So yeah, really iconic. One thing I want to bring up, the music track for this movie is amazing.
Yeah.
Up until this point. You've got Al Green, the let's get together. And then you've got, I forget the chick's name, but she's a white chick that does son of a preacher man, doo-doo-doo.
Yeah.
And then here you have all of like the super swooner guitar shit that was super popular for a long time.
I think that was Chuck Berry. They danced to Chuck Berry, I think.
The down, 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 do. Like I forget the name of the style of music, but you get that the entire time at this scene.
Yep.
And then, honest to God, dude, after this scene, the music score is done for the rest of the movie. There's no more iconic. There's no more songs.
Yeah.
Up until this point, the soundtrack is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And then it just dies for the rest of the movie. It's gone.
Yeah, that's a good point. I never thought of it that way. It's Dusty Springfield, Son of a Preacher Man, and also the beginning track, the Dick Dale song.
Yeah.
Which I think becomes, kind of coincides with it. It's like you said before about what's it called? Stuck in the Middle with You. Like whenever somebody hears Dick Dale, that Dick Dale song, they always think of Pulp Fiction.
What's the song that the Black Eyed Peas did? That fucking the down. Yeah,
they used it. Yeah, they used that. Here's a quick question for you. What is the name of the man who was thrown out, the Black Samoan who was thrown out of the 4th story window?
He had like 4 fucking names. It was like Tony or Tommy Chickachucka, something.
Tony. It's Tony, because I kept thinking about
it's like Tony Two Tongue, blah blah blah. Like he's got a name, a nickname, and a last name.
Well, he's got it's Tony, and then it's Rocky Horror. So it's Tony Rocky Horror.
It was cool when he was brought up in the beginning conversation with them driving in the car between him and Samuel L. Jackson. He was like, "Yeah, the black fucking Samoan, the fat black Samoan guy," and Samuel L. Jackson's like, "Hey man. He's not fat. Like, I wouldn't call him fat. He's just a big dude and he's Samoan. Like, it's not his fault."
So do you think the whole point of him bringing up Tony Rocky Horror to her is to show that she's below or she's above him?
Yeah, I think so. I think we were supposed to see like a caste system. I think what we're supposed to see is the person that we don't really see that much in this movie, who is Marsalis. who is powerful. We're supposed to already get in our mind frame because we're going to see him later on in the movie with very little power. So right now we're supposed to have this idea of a lot of power for him.
But also, that makes a good point that you're saying that she's above him. But then something happens that kind of bonds them, though.
Yeah, well, okay. So I've got mixed emotions. So next, guys, we go back to Mia's house and the Marsalis home. And they're fucking thirsty, both of them. Both of these people are thirsty. They're both ready to do it. He was ready to go home, and she's like, "Hey, come inside. Let's drink and do some shit." And he goes in the bathroom, and he's having a dialogue with himself in the mirror, like, "You're not gonna fucking do this. Here's the thing about loyalty. You're loyal. No." He's telling himself no. And she's over there going through his shit, like, "I got his coat on. This is nice. I really like him."
Yeah.
She finds a little bit of hair on in his pocket. That was that $500 shit.
Yeah, strong shit.
And bumps that. So, okay. Here's something I wanted to tell you. So when I was probably 18 or 19, my buddies and I watched this, and we made a drinking game for Pulp Fiction. And what we would do is we would take a shot for every time somebody said, "fuck."
Oh, boy.
When you get to this scene,
yeah.
Like, we were all like, "Nope, we're done." Like, we were all like 8 shots behind and fucking ready to puke. All of us. Because, guys, there's going to be a lot of fucks.
Would you even like to guess how many fucks are in this movie?
Oh, I don't know, dude. Up till then, it was probably like 13 to 20 before this moment. At that scene when she ODs and she goes to Stoltz.
Because he says it like 50 times.
The fucks get fucking out of hand. How many fucks?
265.
Yeah, you die. You would die.
Yeah. That's 1.72 fucks per minute. Oh, man.
Yeah, I think that was my idea too. Like, every time they say fuck, we take a shot. And we did that up until this scene. And then the game was over.
Quick little thing. So they come home, they go to her house, and they have the trophy.
Yep, they have the trophy. They won.
Did they?
We didn't see any other contestants.
Later on, well, you'll get to it. When you get to it, I'll mention it.
Okay. So, guys, he goes to the bathroom. He's telling himself he is not going to fuck this person. And he was definitely going to fuck this person. And she was definitely ready to fuck too.
Yeah.
There was going to be some fucking.
Yeah.
For sure. She reaches in his coat. She gets some hair on. She thought that was some coke, and she bumps it because that's what she does. She puts the powder up her nose, and she fucking goes back immediately. Blood flowing out of her nose. OD. Done.
Yeah.
He comes out of the bathroom and, like, let the fucks commence. He takes her to Eric Stoltz. Eric Stoltz is like, "What the fuck did you bring her here for?" And he's like, "That's Marsalis's wife." And he's like, "Oh shit, like, we gotta fucking take care of this, I guess." So they get adrenaline. Travolta stabs her in the chest. She comes rising up. She's alive all of a sudden. And then he just takes her home, and they agree to never talk about this again. And she tells her the joke finally. You remember she said she was in a pilot for a movie.
Yes. Yeah, Foxfire 5.
Yeah, the Foxfire 5, because they were foxy ladies. They're fired because they fucking kill people with guns and shit like that. And there were 5 of them. But her little take was that she would tell a joke for every episode. So he's like, "Let me hear that joke." And she wouldn't tell him the joke. So at the end of all of this, she finally tells him the joke. It's about some fucking tomatoes and ketchup.
Yeah.
Not that funny. And then that's it. That's it for the date. So I think, honestly, I can't say that it saved Travolta's life because we know what will happen to him later. But at this point, her overdosing and him not fucking her
Yeah.
probably was a good thing, because
Yeah.
he would have fucked her and there would have been way more animosity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking
Yeah.
about a guy that throws fucking people out of 4 stories for rubbing her feet.
Well, we're supposed to believe, but you say you definitely think that if she didn't OD, they would have they would have fucked. And
Yeah, they were doing it. They were gonna fuck. So much chemistry.
One thing about that show that she talks about for the pilot is that she basically describes Kill Bill.
Yeah.
And she was supposed to be wasn't she supposed to be like the
knife expert. She was raised by carnies
right.
to throw knives, and she's the baddest
Right.
woman on the planet with knives.
Right. Fox Force 5. That's what it was called. Okay.
Yeah, because they were a force to be reckoned with, and there were five of them. And they were foxy.
Yeah. So, like you said, everything connects in a goddamn Tarantino. So that's the whole point, is that Kill Bill would have been a movie that they would have seen. So it's like they took that pilot and then they just reworked it and then just turned it into a movie called Kill Bill.
Somewhere in my plot so far, I skipped Butch.
No, I think you're
right on for Butch.
He's next. Yeah, he's next. Yeah.
Okay, we get the ass watch.
Correct.
This is the ass watch story. So Butch is a kid. He's watching cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
Or is it first Butch and Marsalis talking, and then it goes back?
No, I think I thought you see maybe. I don't know. This fucking story is structured so cuckoo bananas.
I'll start with him as a kid. I'll start with Butch as a kid. Yeah. So Butch is a kid. Christopher Walken. This is his whole appearance in this movie. He's a war hero, or not a war hero, but he's a POW guy that was with his dad, who was also a POW. And he tells Butch, when you are locked up with a person for so many years, you become their fucking brother. And he knows all about your story in this goddamn watch. So his great-great-granddad was in World War I, and he bought a watch in fucking Tennessee, Knoxville. And then that day he went to Paris to be in World War I. And he came back, and he lived, and he had a wife, and he had a kid, and blah, blah, blah. And he gave that watch, his mom or his wife put that watch in a tin, and she gave that watch to his grandfather. The grandfather went to World War II, and like a day or so before he knew he was going to die because they were going into battle, he gave it to a pilot to go back home to give to his child that he's never met. So that watch goes back with, I think it was a Japanese guy or something, but a pilot. And the pilot came back and gave the watch to his grandmother, and gave it to his father. Now his father went to WW2, right? Yeah, his father was in was that WW2?
No, it was Vietnam.
They were. Yep. His father went to Vietnam, and that's where he was a POW. So what was crazy is he was like, so your dad's telling me this story about this fucking watch, and that this watch is yours. It's supposed to be yours. It survived 2 fucking world wars. It's going to survive Vietnam. Right. So he put it up his ass for a couple years, and he died of dysentery. So when he died, I put it up my ass, Christopher Walken's ass, for a couple years. And now I'm bringing it home to you. And it was like right after I put it up my ass for a couple years, he fucking hands him the watch, like in the same sentence. Like, here's your butt watch.
So, and then Butch wakes up.
See, I think we missed the Butch story.
Hey. So after, so when Jules and Vince return the briefcase to Marcellus right after they shoot, what's his name? Brett, I think his name is.
Marvin.
They come back in different clothes. and it's not explained why. And then
Yeah,
they
it
go to
is not explained
Marcella,
why.
and then they have to wait. They have to wait because Marcella's talking to Butch. That's
Yep.
when we first see Butch.
Okay.
And then we don't see him again until after the date.
So Butch is a fighter. He's a boxer, and he's at the end of his prime. And Marcellus is readily there to tell him that he is at the end of your prime. You had a shot. You missed it. You're fucking old. Go ahead and swallow that pride. He talks about pride a lot. Pride. That pride's going to fucking kill you. Fuck that pride. You're going to want to fight. You're going to want to box. Fuck that. How about instead you go to Tahiti or something with this goddamn money one day with your wife? He said you go down in the 5th. And Butch agrees to go down in the 5th. And that's really the end of that. Well, okay, so now Butch goes to the bar and meets Vincent Vega.
They have like a little exchange.
Yeah, Vincent Vega's like, they get into a little beef. There's a little beef there.
Yeah. He's like, what are you looking at? Something like that.
Yep, and he asked Vincent Vega a question, and Vincent Vega's like, I fucking already told you the answer, buddy.
Yeah.
Like, I think you heard me, you know? So that's the end of that.
He's called over. I think he's called over by Marcella, and that's when he like has to go.
All right, so next, do we get to the guy in the other room now?
No, well, he's supposed to fight, and then he kills the guy.
He kills the guy. So he goes
so
into
we never
a cab.
see the fight.
We never see the fight. He won. He won the fight. He gets into a cab with a woman that's basically his wife, but hotter. It's like the
because
same
they're
exact,
both French, right?
It's like the same character, but like this one's hotter.
Yeah.
And
not as annoying. She's not as annoying.
No, and she's like, what's it like to kill a man? And he's like, well, fucking give me a cigarette and I'll tell you all about it. And then he's like, to be honest with you, I didn't even know he died until you told me. And it's a really bullshit part of this movie because like he should feel a little bit bad for killing a man in the ring. You know what I mean? Like Cinderella Man. Have you seen that movie with
No, but I'm aware of it. Yeah.
Cinderella Man was Jim Braddock's or whoever with Russell Crowe, and the big thing, the big controversy was Max Baer. Max Baer is a real person that killed. Well, so is Jim Braddock's, but Max Baer is a person that has killed 2 people in the ring, and that movie glorifies him as like this villain who doesn't give a fuck about killing people in the ring. Well, in real life, it really did bother him, and it stuck with him his whole life, and it fucked his shit up. So it's kind of crazy that he kills this dude in the ring, and he's like, to be honest with you, he shouldn't have laced up his gloves. He fucking agreed to get in the ring, and like, he's dead. Whatever. I don't care. Shit, where does the movie go from then? So they did that cab ride. Now are we going to go to that?
He goes back.
He goes home.
Yeah.
And she's fucking talking about a potbelly.
Well, they're staying at a hotel.
Yep. Yeah, because he's on the run at this point.
Right, because I mean, I think you're supposed to believe that he had no intention of
winning,
taking a dive. No, he had no intention of taking a dive. Because Marcella tells him to take a dive, and he ends up winning by killing the guy.
Yep, so he takes the money and he runs.
Right.
And we find out later on that he actually made bets to win with Marcellus's money to get an even bigger payoff.
Right.
So, yeah, he goes back to the hotel with his wife, who's basically the same character as the cab driver, but less hot and totally more annoying.
Yeah.
She has horrible fucking dialogue, really. She's talking about, I want a really fucking pot belly, and they spend too much time on her just completely.
But then he starts asking her about taking everything from the apartment.
Yep. But what did she grab, though? She missed out on one thing.
The ass watch.
The ass watch. She didn't grab the ass watch, and he freaks the fuck out.
Yeah. Damn it.
So I think now we do go back to the person in the other room that we didn't see with Jules and Vincent Vega, right?
Let's see. I think you might be right. Hold on. Prelude to the Great Watch, Gold Watch. I think so.
Bonnie?
Well, no. I think he goes back to the apartment.
Yeah, he goes back to the apartment. Vincent Vega's there, but he goes back to the apartment. I thought this was weird. He finds the watch immediately. And right then and there, he could have just fucking left. Could have grabbed that watch and left.
He didn't.
He's like, I'm home. Let's look at this. I think I want some Pop-Tarts.
Yeah.
Throw some fucking Pop-Tarts in the toaster. And then finds like a Mac fucking 9 or Mac 10 on the countertop with a silencer.
Yeah.
He picks that up like, what the fuck is this? And then Vincent Vega's done taking his shit.
Yeah.
He opens the door.
Reading.
Sprays him. Dead as a doornail.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the end of that scene. So now do we go back?
No, after that, you know what happens. He goes, so he thinks he's in the clear, and then he leaves the house. But that whole thing with him killing Vince kind of becomes significant later on. But he starts to drive back.
It does become canon in this movie. There's a big reason.
There's a reason, yeah. So he's waiting for a traffic light, and then he sees
Marsalis.
Yep.
They get in a car accident.
Well,
there's a car accident. Marsalis pops out, and he's asking questions, and some person's like, that dude over there is injured. And he fucking looks over, and he sees Butch. And what's crazy, they both got like the stiff leg walk. Like they're hurt and walking. Marsalis pulls out a gun, shoots a fucking innocent bystander that was trying to help out Butch. Butch gets out of the car, and they do like the slowest cat and mouse fucking run ever. Like Marsalis is dragging a leg, fucking Butch is dragging a leg, and they're chasing each other down this fucking street.
I just want to say two things. Bruce Willis hits him with the car, which is a great idea because then he ends up hitting like smashing the car into like a wall or something, and then that's why they're both hurt. But I was just looking this up because I wanted to make sure I was right before I mentioned it. So you had mentioned that Vince and Mia do the dance contest, and they come home with the award, or they go to Mia's place with the trophy. But when Butch is going back to his apartment to get the watch, he has the radio on, and the radio mentions that someone stole the
diamonds. Or the trophy.
No, the trophy.
The trophy, okay.
Trophy.
Yeah, I didn't catch that.
So it turns out that Vince and Maya stole the trophy and didn't win. So there's a lot of little things in this movie. It's definitely something you have to watch more than once.
All right, so now do we finally get to like the Bonnie scene, to where they're back at the apartment?
No, it continues. It continues all the way. That stuff's not until after.
Okay,
after
so
that.
So Marsalis and Vince Vega, or not Vince Vega, Marsalis and Butch are chasing each other down. They go into a pawn shop.
Yeah.
What's weird about this pawn shop is that wall of guitars. When you first look at it, they're all bass guitars.
Oh, interesting.
They're like 3 or 4 fucking bass guitars and 1 mandolin. Like, they didn't do a good job of mixing that up.
Yeah. So then they're fighting in the pawn shop, and then the pawn shop owner.
So Butch has the better of Marsalis in this fight.
At this point, yeah.
He gets him on Marsalis on his back. He throws his killer right, his literal killer right.
Yeah.
And fucking just pounds Marsalis into the fucking ground. Takes Marsalis's gun, puts it to Marsalis's head, and then the shop clerk pulls out a shotty and is like, stop. And fucking Butch is like, you don't know the story, man. Like, you don't know what's going on. And he's like, I'm gonna. Here's what's weird too. It's 1994.
Yeah.
He dials on a rotary fucking phone.
There were still rotary phones.
In 94?
Yeah.
In a shop, like at the front
No,
desk.
that I don't know. In a pawn shop.
At the front desk.
Yeah. You think he would have had a better phone in a pawn shop?
A
Somebody would have
cordless,
pawned.
at least.
Somebody would have pawned a better phone.
Yeah, this fucker's dialing on a rotary.
Yeah. It
call
is weird.
To call Zed. His boy Zed. He says something about spotters, and he's got one, and this and that, or he's got a couple, and talked about him being a spotter. Like, hey, your spotter caught a couple just now. And then that madness comes a lot later.
No.
We just keep going into that?
Yeah, we keep going. Yeah. It's weird what he fragmented and what he kept together.
So, guys, if we keep going into this tunnel is dark. This is a dark.
Oh, it's very dark.
Dark tunnel.
It's literally a dark tunnel.
And what's crazy about Butch's story is, like, the butt shit doesn't stop here. It just keeps going.
Isn't that what? Isn't that the quote from the president? The butt doesn't stop here.
So, all right. So they get taken down to a basement, a fuck cellar, and boy with the beard and the rotary phone and the shotgun's down there. Now Zed shows up, and he's a police officer. And he says,
wait. Now, is he a police officer or is he a security guard?
It said something officer on his. I looked at it.
Okay,
it was
because
like,
I never knew. Like,
no,
I thought he was a cop. But
it was like city of, and it said officer.
Okay.
On his badge. Okay. I thought that too. I thought, is he a security guard? But no, I think he's official.
Yeah.
And that dude's a scary dude. Like, why wasn't he in more movies? He's got one of those fucking he was in The Mask. He was the bad guy in The Mask, right?
And he was in Usual Suspects, and he always played a dirtbag.
He's got the fucking face. Like,
he's intimidating. Yeah, definitely intimidating face.
So that fucker comes down here in the basement and is like, we're going to have some fun. Go get the GIMP. Now, GIMP, I probably saw this movie when I was like 12 or 13, and that word wasn't in my vocabulary. But from then on, I used it profusely. Because pimp was a big word for us. And then GIMP was like this fucking weird sexual deviant that all of a sudden got into my vocab.
Yeah.
So he gets this fucking GIMP out of the box. GIMP comes out. And he does this eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a tiger by his toe, blah, 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 blah. And then you think it's over. But no, he's like, my mom told me to pick and he keeps fucking going. And he picks Marsalis. So he takes Marsalis to the back, and he does some bad stuff to Marsalis. Mm-hmm. He sodomy. We'll just call it sodomy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He sodomizes Marsalis.
Yep.
So then the GIMP gets too close to Butch, and Butch has been working off his hand restraints the entire time, and he comes out and he throws his killer fucking right once again, and just one punch knocks the GIMP the fuck out.
Because he's a GIMP.
Here's what bothers me in this movie. This scene. This scene bothers me. Butch goes upstairs to find a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? He goes through multiple weapons.
Mm-hmm.
He's taking his time to pick a weapon, and the entire time you hear Marsalis getting raped the entire time. Yeah. It's like speed it up, dude. Fucking pick a weapon and go. And he's like, he picks up this weapon, puts it down.
No, this is better.
Picks this, and the entire time he's getting raped, and you hear it. You hear
Yeah.
The entire time he's like, no, not this one. This one doesn't feel right. Maybe, what's that over here? Okay, let's check out this weapon. No, not this weapon.
Well, you don't find the humor in that? Like, I thought that's one of my favorite scenes because of how funny it is. Because he like hits a baseball. I know, but it's also Marsalis. You know, you also have to.
He is getting pounded.
but he wrestles with the problem of either escaping or trying to help, because this is his enemy. This is the guy who wanted him dead, and he did steal from him. So he goes through this problem of like, what do I just save my own ass, no pun intended, or do I go and help him? And it's this humor of like, oh, I got this cool thing. Oh, this is something even better. This is something even better.
He made that decision as soon as he started looking at weapons. What I'm saying is that the entire process of him looking at weapons, this man is getting brutally raped.
Yeah.
And you hear it.
Yeah.
Like, you hear it in the movie. He's like, put the baseball bat down. Yeah. There's a gun. I don't like the gun.
Come on, wouldn't you choose the katana sword? Wouldn't you choose that? That would have been the thing.
No. So if Eric, if you're getting raped in a basement.
Hey, wait.
And I hear you getting raped in a basement, I'm going to take the first fucking weapon and come down there.
But it wasn't his friend. It wasn't his, thank you, by the way. But it wasn't his friend. It was somebody that he hated. So that's why he probably took his sweet ass time.
All right, so he picks the katana. That's what he chooses. He goes back downstairs, gives beard guy with the rotary phone one swipe.
Who's liking the rape too much.
And then he's behind him, and Bruce Willis does the cool no-look backward stab.
Yeah.
While he's looking at Zed. Raises the sword at Zed. Zed's like trying to go for the gun. He's like, go for it, buddy. And he's just got the sword right fucking on him. He's like, go for it. Go for the fucking gun. Come on. He gets a little closer. He's like, that's a boy. That's a boy. Go ahead. This whole time, Marsalis is freeing up his bindings, and he's standing up now in the back, and he's got bearded guy's shotgun. Click, clack. They have a back and forth with Bruce Willis and Ving Rhames. He's like, so what now? He's like, well, now I'm going to get some fucking hard pipe boys down here, and we're going to fucking go at him with some torches and fucking pliers.
But what does he do to him first before that?
Oh, well, right off the bat, he shoots his dick.
Shoots him in the dick.
Immediately. Click, clack. I'm sorry, guys. Click, clack, dick.
I think one of my favorite phrases, the funniest phrases, is "shoot him in the dick."
Yeah, cock shot.
I find that funny.
Fucking cock shot with buckshot immediately, right in the dick. And then they start talking about how their relationship is now. He wants to know what's going to happen, and Ving Rhames tells him, Marsalis tells him, "This is what's going to happen. I'm going to get some boys down here. We're going to get some soldering irons and some fucking pliers. We're going to go at this guy." And he's like, no. What's going to happen with us? And he's like, there is no us. I want you to do two things. Never tell anybody about this ever. And you got to leave town today. And he said, your LA privileges are hereby provoked. And then other than that, we're cool. And he said, all right. Fucking Bruce Willis heads out. Butch heads out. He hops on, looks at his keys. He's got a big Z and on the keys for Zed's fucking chopper. Hops on Zed's chopper and fucking goes back to the hotel.
And they leave.
Yeah. You want to take over?
Sure. So then after that, they drive off into the sunset. And we go back to Vince and Jules, and they're in the apartment. They just killed, what's his name, Brett, that they ate his cheeseburger. And then another man comes out of nowhere and just starts shooting at them.
With like a magnum.
Yeah, I think it was like a Desert Eagle or something like that. And of course, misses, every shot misses them. And they kind of look at each other and I think it's a, I think they're a little shocked.
It's a divine intervention.
Well, that's what's mentioned later on, divine intervention, which I think is kind of the theme of the movie, but I think we could get into that later. So then they obviously kill the guy, and one of the guys in the group was pretty much an informant for Marcella, and they end up take him back. What the hell is his name? I know it was Marvin. Marvin. So they take Marvin back. And they're talking about what happened. And Vince says, Jules says that it's divine intervention. And, quick question. What do you think was in the suitcase. The suitcase opened up and it glows. What do you think was in there?
Gold. It was
There's
yellow.
a lot of
It was yellow.
yellow and bright. There's a big conspiracy that it's a theory that it's Marcella's soul.
Oh, okay.
Because one of the things is that he has a Band-Aid on the back of his neck.
Yeah, the whole time he has a Band-Aid, the entire movie.
Yeah. So they are going to bring the suitcase back to Marcellus. They're having a conversation. Vince turns around to ask Marvin a question with the gun pointed at Marvin because Vince is a moron. And then he accidentally blows Marvin's head off.
Bow! Hits a bump. Bow!
Which is such a great scene. Like, you see the camera on the outside and just like this explosive. So now they're like, what the fuck do we do? And they come to an idea. They're going to go to Jules' friend's house, who's played by Quentin Tarantino.
I think it's his finest role in his movies, honestly.
I don't really know if that's saying much, but okay, we'll go with it. So they don't know what to do. They call Marcellus, and Marcellus sends Winston Wolfe, also known as the Wolf.
I want to interject.
Harvey Keitel.
In this scene, the N-word.
Between him and Marcellus.
Just flows. You could play a drinking game on the N-word in this scene.
Oh, man. Should look that up. Well, probably not. So Wolf comes. One thing, talk about things that are weird. He's at a party, Wolf. All right? He's in the middle of a party.
Is it a party? I thought it was like a wake. It looked like a funeral.
Oh, you thought it was a funeral?
Yeah.
Because after a while, I always used to think, like, where the fuck is there a party? Because this is supposed to be like 10 o'clock in the morning. This is supposed to be like early in the morning. Speaking of which, we never mentioned that. Why is what's his name eating a cheeseburger at 10 o'clock in the morning? But
the cornerstone of every breakfast.
Yeah, but no, it's like I always thought, why is he at a party? But that would make a lot more sense if it was awake. So anyway, Wolf goes and he directs them on what to do. Kind of rubs Vince the wrong way because Wolf is kind of
he's
commanding him. Yeah, he's directing him. The scene where they strip naked in the back and he washes him down. He says, "You boys have been to county before." I can't tell you why, but I think that's quoted in my household frequently for some reason. I always quote that line. Both my wife and I. So they clean the car. They hide the body in the trunk. They dispose of the clothes. They are given clothes that's owned by Quentin Tarantino's character, which is all just what's Quentin Tarantino's name? Do you remember?
No, I didn't catch his name. He's just Jules' buddy who says the N-word a lot.
He says,
and he's married to a black woman.
Yeah,
I thought that was crazy. How easily he said the N-word, and he's married to a black woman.
Right. It's like that gives him, that gives him the card that he can say it. So he says, Wolf says to him, "How do they look?" And he says, "Dorks. They look like a bunch of dorks." But it's your clothes. You gave them your clothes, and you're saying that they look like dorks in their clothes.
All right, so we're going to go into right now a big moment to why Vincent Vega got shot and killed dead by Butch is because he was alone.
Yes.
And the reason that he was alone...
So they go to the diner, and that ends up being the very same diner that we saw in the first scene. And they do have this conversation about divine intervention, and he tells Jules tells Vince that he's done, that he's going to do the kung fu and walk the earth.
Yeah, and Vince calls him a bum. You're a bum.
And then Vince goes to take a shit again while reading Judy Blume, and then we find out that it's the diner from the first scene. So then there's the stick up, which, by the way, I think the Tim Roth and the Amanda Plummer say different things than they did in the first scene.
Yeah.
I think their dialogue's a little bit different.
It is different because, for one thing, what was weird is that Tim Roth was collecting wallets, and that was Plummer's job.
Yeah. So they're doing that while Jules is still sitting there dressed like a dork. And then he starts to basically talk to, well, how would you describe it? He talks to Tim Roth and kind of tries to talk him down.
Yeah, he's got his gun on. Okay, so Tim Roth comes over and he's like, "Give me your wallet. What's in the briefcase?"
Right,
Jules says,
right.
"Absolutely can't. I can't open it."
Yeah,
He
it's
said,
for my
"I've been through
boss.
some shit for this briefcase, and you can't have it."
Right.
He makes a mistake. Jules pulls a gun on him.
Yeah, he overpowers him, and then Amanda Plummer or Yolanda gets hysterical, gets upset, and then that's when, of course, Vince comes out after his shit, and then
Right at that
another
point.
Mexican.
So right at that point, though, he's Samuel Jackson's like, "I want you to get my wallet," and this is a great part of this movie. And he's like, out of the bag, he's like, "Yeah, get my wallet," and he's like, "Well, what's your wallet?" He's like, "It's the one that says bad motherfucker."
Fuck it. Yeah.
And he picks up a wallet that says bad, 3 words, bad motherfucker.
There's a scene where the manager of the diner, like he says, just
Yeah, he
give
stands
him,
up.
so like gives him what he wants, and he was like, "Shut the fuck up, motherfucker!" Like that's so great. So he ends up talking Tim Roth down, and they go with the money.
Yeah, so
And
Tim Roth pulls out his wallet. He said, "Open up the wallet." Samuel Jackson says, "Open up the wallet." He opens up the wallet. He's like, "What's inside of it?" Tim Roth counts out the cash that's in the wallet. There's $1,500. And he says, "There's $1,500." He said, "Put that in your pocket." And then Vincent's like, "Jules, you give this man $1,500. I got to kill this bitch like on principle. Like, I gotta." Like,
he's like, "Shut up.
"Shut the fuck up, Vega. Like, stand down."
Yeah. Stand down,
And
yeah.
he said, "Look, you got $1,500 plus whatever you stole from this diner. That's a good take.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna let you go because today I decided I'm done killing people.
So yeah.
So take this money and go. Like, I'm gonna let you live. Leave."
So the two important things about that scene is why they're dressed like that, because we see it earlier in the movie. Why they're
Very
dressed
early
like
in the
dorks.
movie.
Yeah, and then why Vince dies because Jules leaves.
Yeah, he was
So
alone.
it's the whole reason why. It's also saying, is that part of the divine intervention? Or is that fate? Or is that, what's the other thing? I guess
Chance?
it's fate, right?
I don't know.
Chance. Yeah. Chance and fate, yeah. But yeah, it's a very important scene because of the fact that we learn those two things. And then that's it. They leave everyone's still fucking cowering under the fucking tables in the diner. And Jules and Vince, it's like they just leave because that's their normal.
Yeah.
And they leave. They leave the diner, and that's the end of the fucking movie.
All
so
right.
this, what?
No, I was gonna say we got 2 movies, man. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, this really is way more fragmented in the narrative than Reservoir Dogs. Because I mean, even though you just recently watched it and we're talking about it, we still don't remember where all the stories, because it's so fucking fragmented.
I thought about taking notes, and then I thought, like, that's work. Like, and I don't want to do work.
Yeah. Quick true story. So the first time I saw this movie, and you said you were like 12 or 13 years old. So with all the drug abuse, the heroin, the coke, the N-word, the F-word, the anal rape, I watched this movie for the first time on VHS with my parents.
My parents, my father and my stepmother, that was their first date.
I think you almost trumped me with that one. No, dude, that scene with Marcellus, that I gotta say, that was traumatizing to me. Traumatizing. Yes. And then to be in the same room with my mother and father as I'm watching it was even equally as traumatizing.
Dude, I'm telling you, when I'm watching him select his weapons, I'm like, hurry the fuck up, man. Like, speed it up, brother. Like, the dude's getting raped down there. Like, the baseball bat would have been fine. Like, come on.
It's because he doesn't value Marcella's life that much to the point where he's got to do it in a hurry. Hey, look, it's good enough he saved him. He doesn't have to do it quickly.
Dude, he could have saved him from about 10 pumps at least.
I'm just, it's so seeping into my head what you just said. But no, man, I mean, this has got to be one of the best movies in the 90s, if not of all time.
Yeah, it's up there. It's a hell of a movie. It's what I was telling you when we talked earlier before this pod, is it's not that it's like a book out there that you read and you wanted to see it on film. It's not this great story that you heard before. Like, it's not something that you watch that you're trying to get this meaning and, all this truth about life and all this shit. It's just a movie that you fucking just feel it throughout the entire thing. Like,
Yeah.
it brings you all the way in.
Yeah. Real quick, I wanted to ask, so again, you had said this before we recorded this pod, that Tarantino is known for taking things from other movies, whether it be shot angles or music or scenes, and then he puts them in his own. Now, do you think that is stealing, or is that paying homage?
I think he's paying homage because he knows of people that did that before him. One thing about this movie, right? And I thought that like my Amazon was fucking up because sometimes it just stops and then it rolls, but it's supposed to like mimic old film. You know what I mean? Like
Okay,
he
yeah.
puts that in the movies too. Like
Yeah.
even you hear sounds of like crackles and shit like that every
Yeah,
once in
yeah,
a while,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
like as if it was actually film changing over. Like he puts this weird, I don't know how to say it, like this antiquity in it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
he makes it old.
Yeah.
Like he for some reason,
Well,
and
no, go
and you
ahead.
and you see it with the text that he
Yeah.
puts on movies. You see it with fonts, and you just
Yeah, the
but he
fonts, yeah.
actually you can hear it. You can, and then it just stops. Honest to God, twice the movie just stopped, and I'm like, what the fuck? And then it just
You think it was, yeah.
and it went, and he did that.
Yeah.
So no, he's paying homage, but I think that he's paying homage, but he wants us to believe that he's the one that created that.
You really think so? Well,
Yeah.
because what I was going to say was in interviews and stuff, he would mention other directors and other movies that
Orson
he
Welles.
was influenced by. Yeah, he was influenced by, and he became like somebody that they would go to and say like, well, what movies should we watch? So people would ask him like, what do you think is an underrated movie? And then he started like producing movies that were already. He started helping distribute movies that were already from foreign countries like Japan,
Yeah.
and he would put them under a banner like Quentin Tarantino Presents. And so he really became that person of like, well, what's an underrated director that we should know? So I feel like he's putting it out there saying like, look, this is what influences me, and I'm not afraid to show those influences or talk about those influences in my movies. Whereas if you get somebody else, like a little movie called Avatar, that's just like a ripoff. It's not saying like, hey, I love Fern Gully, I'm going to rip Dances with Wolves and rip the screenplay off. But no, I mean, I think it's amazing of how many movies he's actually paid homage to in his career. But also, this is 94, so this is before the internet. Nowadays, you can easily just figure out
information is
what
readily
he
available.
took. But then, like, nobody fucking knew. Nobody, probably his film historians or film critics probably knew, but other than that, nobody really knew. But now they've done, like, YouTube videos about it and stuff. So, I think it's homage, but I think he knows it's homage. And I think he wears it on his sleeve. So I think it's harder to label him a rip-off artist.
It's not rip-off for me per se, but I think that the directors that he has paid homage to were so long ago that he's like, this is mine. This is me.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because from this movie on, just like if you hear a couple seconds of a song and you know the fucking band, once these titles start rolling, you know it's a fucking Tarantino movie. Like, he's got his stamp on it. You know that this is what you're watching.
I mean, he definitely has his original take.
Like, it's a brand, you know?
Right. I mean, like we mentioned that the conversation in True Romance, that's an original conversation. You know, he didn't take that from anywhere. He took historical parts, but, you know, there's no scene like it in any other movie. So even though he does take from other directors and other movies, he also does completely original things. So, yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I agree. So what else? Anything else we have to say about... So you think that, obviously Pulp Fiction is probably going to be number one.
It's number one, and I thought it was going to be number one
Reservoir
before
Dogs
I watched these two, but goddamn, Reservoir Dogs is good. It's crazy that this is the first pod, because maybe, arguably, his two best movies in this pod.
I agree. I mean, I agree.
I say Pulp Fiction, then Reservoir Dogs, number one, number two. And I think those are going to stand right there for a while.
I don't know if I'm going to say that. But we'll see. We'll see.
How do you feel at this point?
Well, Pulp Fiction probably will be number one. But Reservoir Dogs, I don't think is going to be number two.
Yeah, Django's really good.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Django's really good.
I gotta rewatch that for the pod. I gotta rewatch it. Django. All right. Any last words?
Nope. So that's my final input. As of right now, I'm gonna say Pulp Fiction number one, Reservoir Dogs number two.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna say Pulp one, but Reservoir Dogs I don't know yet.
Well, now, because we only have two movies. I'm saying right now in our pod we only have two.
Yeah, right now. Yeah, but like,
we can't rank three until fucking next week, and we watched whenever we do it until we had have a third movie, because this is just a review and ranks of the Tarantino movies.
Right. Oh shit! You know, I forgot to mention one thing. One thing that he wrote, and Did you ever see the movie Four Rooms?
Yeah.
He directed.
4 directors.
Yeah, he directed that one.
Are we gonna do it? Did he do the one with Antonio Banderas? Is that his one? Is that his?
No, that was Rodriguez.
Or did he do the lighter?
That was Rodriguez. He did the lighter, yeah.
Okay.
But see, that's a perfect example of again, paying homage, because that whole plot is from an episode of Alfred Hitchcock Presents, but he doesn't make it as if that was his idea. He blatantly says it was from somewhere else.
Yeah, I love Four Rooms. I think it's a great movie.
I mean, we should probably talk about it in brief, because it's such a short thing.
Well, and it's not him. There's multiple directors.
Yeah, he only directs the last segment. He directs the last one. But all right, you want to close it out, or
wasn't Tim Roth was the one that fucking hit the
Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis is in that.
Antonio Banderas.
Antonio Banderas. Well, are we talking about the whole movie or just that segment?
The whole movie. Okay, so in that segment, you got Bruce Willis.
It was Bruce Willis. It was Quentin Tarantino. It was Tim Roth. Yeah.
Tim Roth is the bellboy.
Yes.
Tim Roth's actually like in the damn near the whole movie, right?
Yeah, he's in the whole movie. He's in all the vignettes or the segments or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah. So once again, you get actors that you're gonna see, and not a lot of people. I guess a lot of people do that, but
they do.
Not a lot of people do it well. I mean, he does, and then you've got like Burton does it pretty well too, I guess, in his own weird little way. And
yeah, it depends on who. I mean, I think you can make the argument that he uses Johnny Depp too many times, but
and his wife. If Tim Burton makes a movie, fucking his wife and Johnny Depp's gonna be in it.
Whoever he's banging at the time, yeah. Well, because he's not with her anymore. He's with someone else. So the directors usually use a lot of character actors, the same character actors, but they don't always use the same, like big stars.
Yeah, but he uses like a stable of actors that he just keeps.
Yeah. Like Manson.
Yeah.
He used Manson a few times. Yeah, Keitel, definitely. Samuel Jackson.
He used Samuel Jackson damn near every movie. And then he goes on later and he uses what's his name? Fucking Wolf on Wall Street.
DiCaprio, yeah.
Uses DiCaprio. You know,
he
he
uses him a
just
few times. I mean, he puts Samuel L. Jackson in a World War II Nazi movie. So
yeah, and fucking Civil War movie.
yeah, but at least that's fitting. I mean, you know, he uses Samuel L. Jackson in a World War II Nazi movie as a voiceover.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess that would be it for episode 1 of the
Go ahead
Knick
and
and
say
the Hick.
The Knick and the Hick.
The Knick and the Hick.
Yeah. Yeah, we're done.
Who's doing
what?
The send off?
You go ahead. You know all the fucking addresses better than I do.
Yeah. So don't forget to email us at gamerush527@gmail.com. If you're listening to this on any listening thing, cool. But if you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe, comment, do all that shit. Let's see. I have a bunch of pods. And what are my pods? Oh, Fanboy with Opinion and Fanboys Book Club. And join our Facebook group, our Discord group. What's the Discord group called? Just Gamers, right? Yeah. All right. Until next time. He's the Hick.
What about your book?
Oh, I'm going to do an episode this week. It's going to be LA Confidential and In Cold Blood.
No, your book. Plug it.
Oh, my book. Oh, yeah, that's right. I wrote a book. I'm not good at the self-promotion thing, you know?
Yeah, plug it.
I wrote a book. It's called Champ, Misanthrope of the Year. You can Google my name, Erik, and Champ, and it will come up on Amazon and buy it. So that's it, right?
Yep. Yeah, that's the Nick.
I'm the Nick.
I'm the Hick.
You're the Hick. Later.
Later, guys.